I like going on solo camping trips. It's an easy way for me to unplug and relax. Yesterday morning, I drove up into the mountains and set up my tent at a campsite near a pretty popular mountain range. I had no Christmas plans, so I figured I'd rather be out there than sitting at home. I also assumed there would be almost nobody around. I was right. Actually, I was completely alone. Everything was fine. I was enjoying the quiet. I decided to call it a night early because I had done a long hike during the day, and it wore me out. Around 8 p.m., I cleaned up and got inside my tent to relax and wind down. I fell asleep fast. Around 3:15 a.m., I woke up to the sound of my tent zipper being very slowly unzipped. I'm a light sleeper when I camp alone. I stay alert on purpose. That's also why I sleep with my head near the entrance. The moment I opened my eyes, I knew someone was trying to get inside my tent. I bring a handgun for protection, but I've only ever used it at a shooting range, never in an actual situation. The rush of adrenaline hit me hard. I slowly grabbed the gun, pointed it toward the entrance, and decided to say something first. I yelled, "I have a gun! If you don't run right now, I'm shooting in 5 seconds." There was silence for about 3 seconds. Then I heard someone run off. I kept the gun aimed at the entrance for about 10 minutes, not moving at all, just listening. Nothing. I finally grabbed my phone and called the police. They said they'd be there in about 20 minutes. So I stayed there, still ready, still waiting. When they arrived, I stepped out and told them what happened. They started searching the area. About 15 feet away, they found some guy trying to hide in a tree. The trees were bare because it was winter, so he was easy to spot. Turned out he was a younger guy, maybe early 20s, who had taken mushrooms at another campsite somewhere up the mountain. He got lost while wandering around and said he thought my tent was his. He looked genuinely shaken up. They arrested him, and while they were putting him in the back of the car, he yelled to me, "Man, I'm really sorry, that's on me." The cops asked if I wanted to press charges. I told them no. I was pretty pissed, and maybe he was lying, but honestly, he just seemed like a dumb kid who got high and made a bad mistake. Not someone trying to hurt me. Either way, I packed up and left. There was no chance I was going back to sleep after that. I'm not sure if this is the right place to share this, but I've kept this to myself for 6 years. Every time I've tried to talk about it, people either didn't believe me or told me to just drop it. So I stopped, but I still think about it all the time. 6 years ago, I went camping with my boyfriend. He's my ex now. The campsite we picked was beautiful. We had to drive through rough trails to get there, but it was worth it. We were near some hiking paths that led to natural hot springs and a huge waterfall. There was no one around. No voices, no cars, no other campsites, just us. We set up camp next to the car, went hiking, soaked in the hot springs, came back, ate dinner, watched the stars. Everything was normal, completely normal, until the next morning. Before going to sleep, I remember clearly. I put our food cooler and the stereo we brought inside the car, locked it, and then put the keys in the front pocket of my backpack. I placed the backpack inside the tent. On the far side, away from the entrance, my boyfriend slept closer to the entrance, and he kept his gun right next to him. I slept hard. I didn't wake up once. When I opened my eyes that morning, inside the tent, everything looked normal. But the moment we stepped outside, everything felt wrong. Our campsite looked like someone had torn through it with purpose. The fire pit was destroyed, the cooler was thrown out into the dirt, and food was scattered everywhere. The stereo was shattered into pieces near a tree. All of the car doors were open, even the trunk. We just stood there, staring, not talking. The woods didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt like we were being watched. The quiet was heavy. My ex immediately accused me of forgetting to lock the car, said an animal must have gotten into our stuff. I told him I knew I locked it when I went to grab the keys from my backpack. They were gone. We found them on the ground next to the car. We shoved everything into the trunk and got out of there. The drive back was dead silent. He wouldn't look at me. He wouldn't talk. Finally, almost home, he said he had a dream during the night. He said he dreamed something was kneeling over him inside the tent, holding his gun and just staring down at him. When I tried to ask anything else, he shut down completely. He just said, "Don't talk about it ever, just drop it." I tried to forget. I really tried, but I can't. Something was out there with us that night, and it touched our things, and it touched us. And to this day, I still don't know what it was. For some much needed context, I'm a nudist. A lot of us nudists travel to resorts or campgrounds where nudity is allowed because it's private property. These places are usually tucked away in the woods or far outside of town, since nudism isn't exactly what most people would call accepted. This happened last July at a nudist campground. I'm not going to name it for privacy, but just know it sits on around 5 acres of land, completely surrounded by dense forest and hills, very secluded. I had planned to stay there for 3 nights. It was Monday through Wednesday, so besides the few people who lived there full-time, there weren't many guests, which was fine by me. I like quiet. After checking in and dropping my bag off at my cabin, I went to the pool. I swam a few laps, enjoyed the sun, and then I noticed something up on a hill overlooking the campground. There was a man, and he was staring directly at me. Now, normally, that wouldn't be a big deal, but he was clothed, I should explain. Most nudist campgrounds are clothing optional. You can wear clothes if you want, except in places like pools or showers. But this campground was nude only. Clothing was only allowed during extreme weather or for certain medical or personal reasons. And they enforced that rule strictly, so a guy fully dressed in jeans and a black hoodie, hood up, in 85-degree weather, was way out of place. He was just standing there, completely still, hands in his pockets, like a statue. I figured maybe he was maintenance staff, but they usually wear protective gear, not street clothes, and definitely not jeans and a hoodie in the heat. Something about him just felt wrong. The campground has public hiking trails nearby, but it's far from town, and the locals know exactly what kind of place this is. Random visitors almost never happen. Still, trying to be rational, I went to the office to tell the 2 ladies who work there. They know me, I've been there many times, so they took me seriously. We walked back to the pool. He was gone. I'd only been gone maybe 2 minutes, more than enough time for him to disappear into the woods. We walked up the hill and looked around, but there was no sign of him. I tried to talk myself into believing he was just some curious local who wandered too far down the trail, and for most of the day, I actually forgot about him. Then night came. My cabin was the closest one to the trail. Small, cozy, and the walls were thin enough that I could hear everything outside. My nearest neighbor was about 150 feet away, a guy we'll call Sam. He lived there full-time with his 2 daughters during the summer. I was lying in bed reading when I heard it oft crunching outside. Twigs, grass, slow footsteps. At first, I thought it was Sam having a smoke, but there was something too careful about the steps, like someone trying not to make noise. I peeked through the blinds. I could barely make out a figure moving towards Sam's trailer, and I realized something. Sam is very pale, and I've never seen him wearing clothes there. So the fact that I couldn't see pale skin meant the person I was looking at was not Sam. It was the man from the hill. Same hoodie, same jeans, and then it hit me all at once. Sam's daughters, 2 young girls, the only kids who lived at the campground. This man must have known that he must have been watching, maybe for days. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my phone and called Sam. No answer. Called again. Nothing. Meanwhile, the man walked around the trailer. I saw him climb onto a box and try to look into one of the windows. That was it. I wasn't waiting anymore. I didn't even put on clothes. I just threw on my hiking boots and opened my cabin door. But before I took 2 steps, I heard it. A scream from the trailer. The lights flicked on inside and the man jumped out of the window and bolted down the trail. I chased after him immediately. Sam saw me running and took off too. We couldn't catch him. By the time we returned, other residents were awake and the girls were explaining what happened. We called the police, but It took about 30 minutes for them to arrive. They searched the woods. Nothing. No one ever found out who that man was. Sam and his daughters moved away a few weeks later. I haven't gone back since. They've added fences and volunteer night security now. I guess everyone has tried to forget, but I haven't. To the man who stalked 2 young girls and tried to break into their home, let's never meet.